Good afternoon, everyone, and warm greetings to all joining us from across different time zones. On behalf of Women and Youth Advancement, Inc., I welcome you to Resilient Economies, Inclusive Justice, Gender Aligned Collaborative AI, and Systemic Solutions. I'm Judy Snell, Executive Director of WOYA, which is a New York based nonprofit dismantling the barriers that keep too many people locked out of opportunities. It's truly my honor to convene this global dialogue as part of the Second World Summit for Social Development, a moment that dares us to reimagine what justice, technology, and inclusion can look like when humanity is the algorithm. 30 years after the First World Summit, the world has changed. The pillars of poverty eradication, full employment, and social integration are being tested by cross-cutting issues relating to climate upheaval, digital acceleration or artificial intelligence, and displacement on an unprecedented scale. But with these pressures come possibilities, right? The possibility to rewrite the code of development itself. At WOYA, we call this approach collaborative AI, not artificial intelligence for profit, but aligned intelligence for people. Technology as a public good, as social infrastructure. Innovation that doesn't just predict futures, it builds fairer ones. Today's solution session is structured in three parts: two dynamic panels exploring actionable blueprints for equitable systems, and a spotlight segment featuring short interventions from leaders reshaping finance, policy, and the human story behind data. Together, we'll move past conversation, past ideation, and into co creation, not just waiting for systems to change, but becoming the architects of that change ourselves. So, thank you, everyone, for being here, for bringing your insights, and for showing the courage to imagine beyond the ordinary. It's now my pleasure to hand over this mic or this space to our very esteemed His Excellency, Dr. Hanafi. He is going to go ahead and give us the spotlight keynote of this event. Thank you once again for everyone. Dr. Hanafi, it's very good to see you. Welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure and honor to be with you today, having this interesting meeting and gathering under this great summit. As you've mentioned, after like 30 years, we started again to talk about some interesting aspects related to social development, which is really important. And I believe that the vibes here, I'm in Doha now, the vibes here great, and people are very enthusiastic regarding the issues. So thank you for being with you today. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor again to join you today at this landmark gathering under the auspices of Women and Youth Advanced Inc. At the moment when trade, technology, inclusion, and justice converge as never before, we see that we're talking about, as you kindly mentioned, we're talking about totally different world. The input today, after 30 years, are really different from what we had before in Copenhagen. So I believe that we have to have different actually approaches for this matter in 2025 actually. The theme of this session, which is Resilient Economies, Inclusive Justice, speaks at the heart of what our region, I mean, the Arab region and the Middle East specifically, and our even global community must achieve together. Economies that endure shocks, systems that leave no one behind, and innovation that uplifts rather than exacerbates inequality. Inequality, I believe, is the main challenge. Inequality, whether we're talking about gender, whether we're talking about age, whether we're talking about regions, I believe that the issue of inequality in the globe, in the whole world, the issue of inequality regarding regions, the issue of inequality when it comes to a specific country, even within the country itself. So I need to highlight and to address that inequality is our main challenge in different aspects, not just the inequality that usually tackled, which is the income inequality, which is important, but I believe that we have to consider different types of inequalities and even dualism that exists everywhere. We need to talk about the strategic opportunities of regional trade. In the Arab region, the private sector, which I have the honor to represent by the Union of Arab Chambers, has long flagged the potential of regional trade and integration as catalyst of growth, diversification, and job creation. So we believe that this is an important issue to lead to all these aspects. Today, we must recognize that regional trade is not just about tariffs and borders. It's about building economic ecosystems that give women, youth, and SMEs access, voice, and agency. Because actually, the traditional way of dealing with trade was just talking about the trade barriers, trade restrictions, or on the other side, the trade openness, trade liberalization. But now we need to talk about how we utilize this trade as an economic ecosystem. We need to empower women, youth, SMEs, to make them like agencies. In the Arab region, young people, between the age 15 and 29, constitute about 30%, yes, 30% of the population in our region. Yet the demographics dividends can only be realized if these young women and men are productively engaged. Unemployment rates for youth in the Arab states rose from around 19.5% to 23%. Actually, I'm talking about since 2012 till now. So this is a recognized increase in unemployment, which is something that we should deal with. This increase in unemployment, from my point of view, is due to the increase in the size of population and in the weight of this segment. These are not just statistics. They represent huge untapped resources. Accessing them requires that trade and economic architecture be deliberately inclusive, because in the absence of inclusion, we cannot talk about what we can achieve in our potential growth. So the idea is not just to empower women or youth. The idea is to empower the economy through women and youth, which is very important point. It's not something that we give, it's something that the economy takes. Also, we need to highlight that digital transformation, AI, and inclusive value chain. We are entering the age of digital trades, where AI, data analytics, smart logistics, and blockchain redefine both what trade is and how inclusive it can become. For the Arab region, this moment is one of both promise and challenge. Yes, we are in a different world, as we've mentioned earlier. We are talking about different model of trade. This new model, which is the AI and the data analytics, the blockchain, is redefining the whole game. So we are now approaching something new. I call it, or some other people call it, the new normal. So the normal now is new by itself. On one hand, we see initiatives to digitalize customs, streamline cross-borders, e-commerce, integrate regional value chain, and actually having some achievement in the AI for trade facilitation and SMEs empowerment. On the other, the gender gap in digital economy access remains sizable. Women hold far fewer bank accounts, fewer leadership posts, fewer participation in formal trade corridors. For example, the gender gap in financial account ownership in the Arab region was 17 percentage points in 2021, with about 29% of women holding accounts compared with higher share of men. This issue is really important because this highlights the issue of financial inclusion, and accordingly, it says to what extent the women participation in the formal economy, even if they participate in the informal economy, their participation in the formal economy needs to be revisited. And this is an important indicator. We must therefore ensure that the deployment of AI and digital trade infrastructure is gender aligned and youth inclusive. That our policies promote women-led SMEs in export markets, that digital literacy and entrepreneurship opportunities reach young women and men across the region, not only in urban centers, but in rural, underdeveloped, and post-conflict areas. In short, digital trade is an equalizer only if we build it to be one. It's very important because the illiteracy here is one of the main challenges. The digitalization of trade is main challenges. It has double directions. If we work together regarding the women, the youth, of empowering them by digitalization side by side with the financial inclusion, I believe that this will help a lot. Number 3, building resilient, inclusive system through partnership and governance. Resilience is not only a matter of economic metrics. It's about system, governance, values. When supply chain break, when climate shocks strike, when global markets slip, what holds an economy up is inclusiveness and the extent to which all, and I mean all, participants have stake and voice. The inclusion, as I mentioned, that everybody should hold a stake and voice in the economy, whether we're talking about political democracy and inclusion, or we're talking about economic democracy. I call it economic democracy and inclusion, that we have to have a contribution and we have to have a stake, we have to have a voice for all parties, for everybody, which is a real challenge nowadays. And by the way, this matter, yes, it is very highlighted in our regions. It's highlighted in many places around what so-called the underdeveloped economies, but it's also exists and recognized in developed countries and economies as well. At the Union of Arab Chambers, we promote a regional model for responsible business, which integrates ESG principles, AI ethics, and inclusively metrics into the private sector agenda. We encourage chambers across the region to partner with governments, multilateral development agencies, and civil societies organizations to advance women's access to trade finance, youth training programs in digital and green sectors, and regional value chain linkages that include small and medium enterprises, especially those led by women and young entrepreneurs. As one benchmark, women in Arab parliaments now hold 17.7% of seats 2024, a growth from 3.8% in year 2000, yet still far short of parity. This signals how structural inequalities persist. Economic system built without gender and youth inclusion are less adaptable, less resilient. Yes, this is our main belief in the Union of Arab Chambers. It's our belief in the Arab private sector. We started to move, we started to act, we joined forces with different agencies, regional, global agencies, of course, with our private sector represented by each chamber in each country, not even in each country, in each region, in each country. We are working hard to have all the tools needed for youth, for women to be empowered, for entrepreneurs, women or men, to be empowered, to be equipped with the AI needed technology, with the knowledge, with the financial, with the access to finance, even to be integrated in the political arena. And we believe again and again that inequality is the main challenge. Number 4, we talk about concrete properties of call to action. Let me outline 3 practical priorities that I believe we should collectively advance. The first one is embed gender and youth clauses in trade agreements of regional value chain frameworks. For example, many FTAs in the Arab region include gender references, but do not yet appropriate and make them really included. We should commit to trade agreements that include measurable targets, quotas, or resource allocation for women-led SMEs, youth employment linkages, digital access for young entrepreneurs, and monitoring mechanisms. It's very important now when it comes to this commitment that we do not just want to have this inclusion in FTAs or in agreements, but we need it to be measured. We need it to be applied in real world. We need to have more women-led enterprises, especially in the SMEs, in the entrepreneurs, and to have more interest based on the agreements So this will encourage the trade here, will encourage the employment of these segments. The second one is to promote digital trade platform and AI-driven logistics that lower barriers for SMEs, especially those led by women and young people. This means partnering across the private sector, Chamber of Commerce, tech platforms, development banks, to build digital corridors that facilitate export, cross-border e-commerce, and integrate regional small-scale producers into global supply chain. So here we need to do this type of promotion for the platforms in order for these segments and even other segments to be integrated. This is really important. The third one in this part is build data systems and governance mechanisms that track inclusion and resilience. Without this aggregated data by gender, age, SME status, trade role, we cannot measure progress. We need to measure progress as agreed. So we need to do the data, this aggregation of the data to be able to do this. The region still faces large gaps in gender statistics and labor market analytics. I urge governments, chambers, and multilateral bodies to scale the collection and use of gender, age, trade data so that we can benchmark and hold ourselves accountable. We cannot manage what we cannot measure, guys. So we need to be able to have accurate measures, and we have to work for this, and we have to encourage this. We have to build the data system for this. We have to be more governance oriented. This is the message, and what we do in our Union of Arab Chambers, that we advocate governments, we advocate the private sector, we advocate parliaments, we advocate all the stakeholders for this. And I ask you to do the same with us everywhere, not only in our region, but I believe in many other places around the globe. Our vision for the future, in the coming decade, the Arab region can become a global place for, or location for, inclusive trade and digital economy, if we be able to do the following. Women-led export enterprises cross borders with ease via digital platform, contributing to GDP and jobs. Youth from diverse backgrounds access training in AI and green logistics and become entrepreneurs and being able to do in their regional trade chains and to contribute. Trade agreements and private sector governance models embed not only sustainability, but justice. Justice is very important. I mean justice, not equality. I mean justice, because equal opportunities, ensuring that growth leads to shared prosperity and resilience. This is very important, and that's what we dream of. This is our vision, and we believe that this will be achieved. Our region is very promising. Our region has great potential. We are changing significantly and dramatically in the last decade. I mean, the Arab countries, as I usually mention, we cannot deal with them as one block. Yes, we are 22 countries, but we are segmented. We have advancements in different regions in our Arab world, and whoever is now in Doha will easily be able to recognize the type of a country like Qatar, which is amazing. And we have many other cases in the Arab region, not by the same model of Qatar, but we have, as I mentioned, 3 or 4 different segments or models in the Arab region. We have the most valuable resource, which is human resources, not oil, not gas. And this youth, as I mentioned, more than 30% between the age 15 and 29, they are very well equipped with technology, knowledge, and I believe that we can achieve this in the future. To conclude, collaboration in the new infrastructure, inclusion in the new currency of sustainable growth. If we align our trade system with the principles of inclusion, justice, and sustainability, we will not only build resilient economies, but societies that leave no one behind. We don't want to leave anyone, one behind. And in doing so, we will set a model for global transformation, not only regional transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Hanafi. We are so honored and so grateful to have you with us. I thank you so much for that amazing perspective that you've brought to this event. It is more than relevant to this conversation, to the reason why we're right here in Qatar. So thank you very, very much. And I'm going to now transition out Dr. Hanafi, and I'm going to take it right now quickly over to Simone Castillo. Simone is a moderator for panel 1, and she's going to take it away right now while I get off. Hello, Simone.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us across regions. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this solution session, Resilient Economies and Inclusive Systems, as a part of the UN Second World Summit for Social Development 2025. I am Simone Castillo, founder and CEO of Velvet Canary Advisors, a New York-based consultancy advancing financial inclusion, capital access, and capacity building for entrepreneurs, policymakers, and ecosystem builders. Over the past decade, our team has equipped C-suite leaders, innovators, and public sector partners with tools that advance Sustainable Development Goals 5, 8, 10, and 17, promoting gender equity, decent work, reduced inequalities, and strategic partnerships that drive sustainable, inclusive growth. Operating through our core values of simplified systems, fiscal fluency, financial wellness, and equity-centered leadership, we design programs that help institutions and founders not only access capital, but also build the financial resilience and leadership agility needed for lasting impact. At VCA, we see collaborative AI, women's empowerment, and youth enablement as 3 catalytic forces reshaping how inclusion is delivered. We have 3 distinct solution pathways that include digital financial literacy and AI-enabled ecosystem alignment. This is where we integrate responsible AI tools to help women and youth-led enterprises forecast cash flow, strengthen decision-making, and bridge capital access gaps. Next, another pathway that we leverage is inclusive leadership and workforce enablement, developing cross-sector programs that prepare the next generation of leaders, highlighting women and youth for high growth sectors through digital skills and equitable employment pathways. And then third, our blended finance and data collaboration frameworks. This is where we leverage partnerships between civil society, private investors, and available AI tools to channel funding toward locally led solutions that advance decent work and financial justice. These models are increasingly vital in a global context where women account for just 1 in 3 business owners, as reported by the World Bank and the World Economic Forum in 2022. Yet, when empowered through digital innovation and inclusive systems, women and youth, small and medium enterprises can accelerate poverty eradication and shared prosperity for entire communities. So it is my honor to introduce our distinguished panelists for panel number 1, who exemplify the spirit of collaborative action and innovation. We have joining us today the Honorable Bridget Anyafulu of Nigeria, Esther Waititu of Safaricom PLC in Kenya, Frauke Barfuez of Veer, based in Germany, and Angela Weber of the Green Tent Circle, based in Italy and Brazil. In our next segment, each panelist will share a brief solution statement, which is a snapshot of a proven scalable pathway their organization has implemented to advance inclusive systems and resilient economies through digital innovation, gender alignment, and other relative collaborations. Following those insights, we'll move into an engaging Q&A dialogue exploring the actionable frameworks, partnerships, and leadership models that can be replicated across contexts. I'd like to first call in the Honorable Bridget Anyafulu to share her remarks.
Hello, good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm not seeing my face there. Well, listening to the last speaker, it's amazing what the things that are happening across the world, and looking at the topic that we have to discuss and focusing on the eradication of poverty, the social justice, financial, digital innovation. I want to agree with the last speaker on the issues that are confronting us. And I see this resilient economy, inclusive justice, gender-aligned collaboration, AI and systematic solution as a comprehensive framework when it happens across the world. It will help to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, working critically in collaboration with critical stakeholders and technology, with inclusive leadership in mind. It will help to achieve sustainable development. A leadership that will have recognition and prioritize transparency, accountability, issues of collaboration, like was raised in the past presentation, acknowledging the fact that the number of women and girls, youths, even children will have to be carried along. And then technology has a very critical role to play in bridging all the gaps. All the gaps. When that happens, you find out that everyone working together for the benefit of the majority. Women and girls, like I have raised, this leadership of inclusiveness will also, looking at the focus at the topic that we are treating this afternoon, focusing on the total eradication of poverty, the issue of financial justice. When these things are in place, we will have a sustainable development in practice. Now, I'll give examples from where I come from on the issue of financial and digital inclusion that will reach out to places that are hard to reach.
Honorable Bridget, we have a bit of a time crunch. We just ask that you have 1 minute more as our other speakers are also waiting to present.
Okay, that's fine. So it is one process that will have access, not just being affordable. It will have access to persons who are living in the rural communities, in different rural communities, where at every given point, women, youths, girls are empowered in whatever way they want to, whatever they want to do. For example, we have money points, OPay in our country, where financial services are delivered right to the rural communities. So making it very possible for so many citizens who do not even have access to the traditional banking system. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bridget. I'll now turn it over to Esther Waititu.
Oh, thank you very much, Simone, and thank you, Honorable. So good afternoon, and thank you for the insights. I work with Safaricom. Safaricom is a leading technology company that's purpose-led, the largest in East Africa, and the parent of M-Pesa, which is the largest mobile money movement. So at Safaricom, our journey has really been anchored in purpose to transform lives. And in October, we released our 14th Sustainable Business Report themed Anchored in Purpose and Accelerating a Digital Future. This just reflects how the principles that we have in Safaricom are truly embedded in the ESG principles in every part of our business, both in Kenya and Ethiopia. And we are largely focused on digital inclusion, gender equality, equity, and sustainable innovation. Our purpose is not just about connection, it's about inclusion, it's about empowerment, it's about shared progress, which ties very well with social inclusion. So when we think about inclusion, we think about driving empowerment. We've learned that true inclusion must lead to empowerment. We've seen women in leadership, and I'd like to give a few examples that 49% of our workforce and 45% of our senior leadership at a board level are actually women. So proof that gender parity can be achieved when it is intentional. With M-Pesa being the largest mobile money movement, again, we have enabled access to credit. So 48% of women in Kenya, they're able to access credit facilities on the touch of, with their phones, which is a strong indicator of inclusion and leveraging technology to give disadvantaged minorities empowerment. The financial inclusion impact that we have since driven as a result means that just under 50%, to be exact, 49.3% of women are users on M-Pesa, which is the most uplifted demographic since our inception 18 years ago. And over 20% of women actually use our micro solution, our micro entrepreneur solution, which we call Pochi la Biashara. And over 45% of women have been able to access the digital world through our enablement of digital smartphones across the country. So financial literacy is the backbone of what we do. We launched an empowerment program for women in May that's tailored to give women across Kenya the strength and the tools to manage their financial confidence and drive their business acumen. And so part of what we do is ensure that we work with GSMA through the Connected Women Pledge that enables women to have access to a wide range of digital tools and financial inclusion that allow us to customize solutions for them, therefore strengthening the ecosystem around technology and around financial services. Thank you so much, Simone. I hand over back to you.
Thank you, Esther. We really appreciated not only the specific pathways, we also love all these great statistics of the adoption, utility, and the application of M-Pesa resources. Now I will turn it over to Angela Weber of Green Tent Circle.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to be part of it. And I'm an anthropologist, have been working with women all my life. And for me, the development project of our Occidental society seems to be doomed. It causes poverty among those it should protect. It doesn't provide for all. If that is so, we have to ask ourselves, how will EI provide for those in need without using the same doom scheme? Those schemes are at the core of our ideas of development, even when we label them sustainable. So, shouldn't we think as a starting point, reviewing our development perspectives and understanding? If we have to have a positive outcome to real and feasible development, it's about time to look into traditional societies that, although submitted to brutal colonization and the consequential acculturation, are still thriving with their own parameters and possibilities, mostly integrated to their environments. There are many examples of these traditional communities and its projects all over the world. And I want to introduce one, which is the Pintadas project, is redepintadas.org.br. They define themselves as a net of social, environment, and cultural projects and initiatives organized and led by local communities with the aim of improving community life. One of their outstanding projects was initiated 3 years ago when they realized that the city garbage created horrible situations, but also possibilities. They mapped its content and realized that most of it constituted of bones from the butcher business within. With that information and led by the unstoppable Nereide, they developed a process to extract the lard and bone marrow that they are selling to a biodiesel production plant, around 8 tons per month. And with the marrow, they want to start their own beauty products company. Like most of the successful communities projects, they are women-led, and its core values are common good and the population rights. These values do not belong to the core values of our development perspectives. So the biggest challenge will be to incorporate those values to EI initiatives and projects, creating the possibility of a really sustainable development born from the community's deepest values and needs. They have the capabilities required to create, design, and oversee their projects. Including EI as a tool to their process could be a big challenge and the real solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for those vital comments and also reminders that community-led projects should always remain at the forefront. We appreciate your remarks. Next, I'll turn it over to Frauke Barfuez. Frauke, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Hi, thank you so much. I'm honored to be on here. I'm Frauke Barfuez, energy and sustainability strategist and the founder of WOYA and from Germany, but recently located here in Doha in Qatar at the UN Summit. Well, of course, from my point of view, but also I think a big question of the time is how do we treat energy? Because as like the lovely Esther just pointed out, we have mobile access, but we need energy as a basis for it. So it's not just a power supply, it is a human right. And it's a matter of safety and the frequency of life itself. So energy shapes everything. It defines how we live, how we move, how we connect, and how we think about responsibility and about balance. We must become aware of the energy that is available, the energy that we consume, and the energy we waste, and in our systems and in ourselves. So too often, energy is reduced to physics, maybe to engineers, and we discuss supply chains, but we forget the people connected to them. and we optimize consumption but neglect awareness. So how do we handle the situation? We handle it by seeing the full picture, both technical and human, because the good news is there are so many solutions already in place. And we learned about the dependency of the resources. We learned about the cost of the system control. We learned about the ownership and consumption and the impact and sustainability. And each of these lessons teaches us how to act smarter and not just faster. So the solution do exist, but we have to make them tailor-made, we have to make them sustainable, and we have to make them forward-looking, because our goal is not to bring everyone to the same level. Our goal is to move beyond. It is to create systems, communities, and leadership that reaches way further than where we are today, because energy is not just what powers the world, it is what defines our humanity. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Frauke. Thank you, everyone. Frauke, I really love your remarks on connecting the human and the technical as it pertains to energy as not only a resource in communities, but a global resource, a resource that we're all using every day and that not only resides within us, but also all around us. Thank you for those wonderful remarks. So as we are a little crunched for time, I'm going to move into our second question, or we'll have one question for our Q&A dialogue I'd like to pose to our panel, and then have some time for them to respond. So to our panelists, I'd love to step into a portal of possibility with all of you. Imagining a civil society coalition of public and private stakeholders, that really would love to take a lot of your advice and information and implement this. Based on your experience, are there some practical steps or commitments that any of our stakeholders should take to first making inclusive economies as well as collaborative and environmentally safe AI? Are there any initial practical commitments that you guys recommend that our stakeholders, that our elected officials, that our leaders should take to take comprehensive steps to making inclusive economies a real thing? Please, anyone share? Esther, Frauke, Angela, Honorable Bridget?
Yeah, I think we must have a real space for community-based leaders.
Okay.
Speak out and act.
Okay.
Maybe we are giving space to hear part of what they are saying, but to act and be included in the policy making is really, really out of their reach.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you're really advocating that we actually encourage and make space and encourage our community-led organizations to take up space in these forums and engage in these sectors as well. Esther or Frauke, do you have anything that you'd also like to contribute?
Yeah, and I love to catch up with what Angela just said, because it just matches amazingly. I think it's important to follow up the principles of responsibility, clarity, and inclusion to bring this together. And I do see this with the leaders as well, because it is, like, from my point of view and what I experienced, there are 3 questions you can ask yourself, but we can also place, like in my aims on the power supply, there's like, is there a secure and reliable system? And the energy security is the basis for everything. If there's no power flow within ourselves or within the electricity system, then there's no stability. So that's something we need to secure. The second thing would be that we need to digitize that transparency. So see if we can use data tools or maybe even AI now to wisely connect our resources. And then the third thing is that we have to take ownership. And that is so important, that each of us takes the ownership. And also we have the people who are closest to the system, that they are able to, to have this ownership, to manage it and to maintain it. And then it is well, the greatest impact lies within those who are already taking the decision. So it is the governments, the organizations, and leading
Yes.
companies, as you just said. So transforming their perspective towards an inclusive leadership. And what I try to work on is to give them a greater understanding of the full picture of energy that will help us to to get more human in all what we are doing, to include everyone a little bit more, and then make it easier for each of us to contribute to it and to grow. And that's my thought. So I like what Angela just said. But Esther, I
Thank
guess you have something to
thank
bring in
you.
as well.
Thank you, Franca. I really
Yes.
appreciate your reminder for responsibility, awareness, clarity, but also like setting the table, setting the landscape, making sure that all have space, they're included, but also they're aware. Esther, just before we segue into our next section, I'd love to get your comments and response on any immediate commitments or actions that our leaders, our stakeholders can take.
I'm going to build on the points that both Angela and Fake have made, actually.
Yes.
And mine is going to be around how we design and model our technology. So, once we've got the right policies in place that are all inclusive, and once we've got the energy and security, because, for technology to work, energy is the cornerstone of what must happen. But as we're building products and solutions, as we do in technology and what we're doing with M-Pesa, I think it's absolutely important that when we're thinking about data, ensuring that also our data is all inclusive, because AI is built on different large language models and how it's trained. So I think the first point for me is making sure that the data sources and the data points are actually designed and trained with diversity and inclusion as part of that process. And I will speak on behalf, say, of African markets, where a lot of the AI models were built in Europe and in the US. And when it comes to local nuances, cultural differences, those are often, overlooked when we're thinking and working with technology. So really, for me, my call to action will be, let's think about how we design data, that the data is all inclusive. The data is also safe in terms of how we use it. And then it also takes into consideration economic realities in different markets. When you think about Asia, when you think about, African markets, let's not assume that one size fits all, but let's make sure that we take that as a design principle as we move forward. So I think for me that would be really key. And then just ensuring that when we're working with AI and the technologies in it, is that we also make sure that we take into consideration the key aspects sustainability, and specifically from our perspective, when we look at inclusion and making it affordable for all, because you can build all these great tools, but if they become too expensive for the bulk of the communities to afford, then we would not have done justice. So thank you, Simone.
Thank you so much to our panelists today. I appreciate everyone's not only commitment, but also reminder to always provide space, awareness, information for all of our resources, but also highlighting how energy, technology, community grass-led involvement has to be at the forefront of inclusive economies to ensure that the voices of women and youth are at the forefront, as they are those in the economy that are driving a lot of the momentum and the revenue. With that being said, I'd like to thank our panelists today for joining us for our for panel number 1. I appreciate the audience's time. We appreciate your time here joining us for Resilient Economies and Inclusive Systems. Next, we'd like to turn over the program. Excuse me. Together, we're not only imagining what inclusion looks like, we're building the systems to sustain it. Please stay with us as our program continues with our Spotlight segment reflections. Now I'll turn it over to our facilitator and our leader, Judy Snell.
Thank you so very much for that amazing panel. Panel 1, which was Resilient Economies and Inclusive Solutions. It was amazing. I thank you so much, Honorable Bridget. Thank you for your reflections. Thank you very much. I thank you so much, Angela Weber. Thank you for your reflections. Amazing work. Thank you. Thank you so much, Frauke. Thank you for all your reflections. Amazing work. Thank you so much. Thank you, Esther, for your reflections. Thank you for your thoughts. You did an amazing job. And I thank you for all the numbers you brought to the table, the data. Thank you. And Simone, our amazing moderator, what can I say? Always the professional, doing an expert, amazing job. Thank you very, very much, Simone.
My pleasure.
For moderating panel 1, and we'll see you soon. All right, I'm going to pass it right over without much ado to Sophia Steele. Sophia Steele, an ambassador to Girl Up United Nations. Sophia, please come on up, and I'll get out of your way so you can speak directly to us all.
Thank you, Judy, and hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Steele, and I'm honored to join you today as an ambassador for the United Nations Girl Up Initiative. Girl Up is a global youth-centered leadership development movement dedicated to achieving equity for girls and women, especially in spaces where their voices have historically been unheard or undervalued. Through leadership training, storytelling, and community building, Girl Up equips young women and gender-diverse youth with the skills, confidence, and global network to drive social progress and lead systemic change. Founded by the United Nations Foundation in 2010, Girl Up has trained more than 400,000 youth leaders worldwide, creating a vibrant movement that now spans over 155 countries. Our leaders have launched national campaigns for gender justice and civic engagement, advanced STEAM innovation through inclusive education programs, and championed menstrual equity by providing sustainable period products to communities around the world. The next chapter of Girl Up's work is being written by a new generation of young women who are actively building the technologies and systems of the future. For instance, members of our community have launched Girl Up AI, an initiative committed to combating gender bias in artificial intelligence and ensuring that AI becomes a tool for inclusion rather than exclusion. Through this initiative, Girl Up leaders are developing AI literacy programs that introduce underserved young women to the fundamentals of data ethics, coding, and machine learning, helping them succeed in a rapidly evolving digital economy. And this is what resilient, gender-aligned innovation looks like: young women shaping the systems that shape us. And as we celebrate Girl Up's 15th anniversary, we're proud to announce the launch of the Future Forward Fund, a new initiative designed to expand this kind of visionary work by investing directly in the next generation of women and youth leaders. Excuse me. And by 2030, our goal is to reach 1 million changemakers, each equipped with the skills, creativity, and courage to build a more equitable and sustainable world. And these next 500,000 leaders are waiting not for permission, but for opportunity. They're actively organizing in their schools, innovating in their communities, and advocating for a world that values inclusion, justice, and shared progress. You can directly support Girl Up's mission by visiting girlup.org and joining us in empowering the next generation of global leaders. Thank you. And I'll pass it on to the next spotlight speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Sophia Steele, UN Ambassador, Girl Up United Nations Ambassador. We thank you so much for your reflection. Thank you. All righty. And now I'm going to just pass it on to Tishing Nu. Tishing Nu is going to come up. She is a moderator for the second panel. Tishing, please come on over. And I'm going to get out of your way as you guys delve deeply into inclusive justice and social infrastructure. Welcome. You are mute.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for having us. My name is Tishing Nu, and I will be the moderator today for this solutions segment, Justice and Social Infrastructure Today, with some very esteemed panelists. I'm the co-founder of Money Tact AI, and our company mission is to democratize financial literacy through personalized financial coaching. After more than 20 years in financial services, I've seen very successful people struggle with money not because they lacked income, but they also lacked the understanding of what their decisions how their decisions affected them long term. There is no shortage of financial education online for, around the world, but I think financial wellness is still out of reach, actually, for many Americans by the time they reach retirement. Younger generations now face growing student debt, limited savings, and economic uncertainty as AI and workforce changes reshape entry-level jobs. That's why our focus of adults age 18 to 30 are the ones that are just entering the workforce and beginning their financial journey. Our goal is to help them build strong financial habits from the start and then support them through their financial needs as they always evolve throughout each stage of our life. And while our program is built with the US in mind, we know that financial literacy is universally needed, as we heard in panel 1. The OECD found that 66% of adults in member countries lack basic financial skills. And the IMF noted that despite fintech's expansion, limited financial and digital literacy among rural and low-income populations widens inequality greatly. By expanding access to financial education, we will equip individuals to manage their resources, reduce their debts, make sound decisions that break the cycles of poverty and dependence by enhancing employability as well as entrepreneurship. Equitable financial access builds resilient societies, as we had heard also in panel 1, and integrating digital literacy ensures that technological progress strengthens rather than divides communities. We also believe that increasing the number of people with financial literacy and access across the globe requires adapting programs to each country's financial infrastructure, education system, traditions, and cultural attitudes towards money. Once again, this becomes a very community-based, regional-based thought of how to deploy this type of education. By aligning these global strategies with the local realities, financial education can become inclusive, sustainable, and I think impactful for all. So thank you. Like I said, as I move towards our panel discussion and I'd love to introduce our esteemed panelists. What I will do is introduce each one. They will give their solutions, and then we'll come back and we will have a panel question. So I'd like to introduce Jane Smith. Jane has worked in leadership and talent development over the last 25 years. She has delivered and designed impactful learning, coaching, and professional development programs in the US and internationally. The core pillar of Jane's solution addresses full and productive employment and decent work for the sight impaired. Jane, please put your solution forward, and then we can, and looking forward to hearing your insightful thoughts. You're on mute. I think you're good now. Oh, we still can't hear you. Okay, so maybe what we'll do is we'll get back to you while you work on that technology. In the meantime, let me introduce Dr. Sharon Majares. She is a death psychologist, a professor and course designer at both the California Institute for Human Science and National University. She is the creator of 7 books, primarily focused for the need for women's leadership and global well-being, including The Power of the Feminine, Facing Shadows, Evoking Light. Her solution emphasizes the imperative of ensuring women's full and active participation in deliberation related to the core 3 pillars of the Social Summit. Dr. Sharon.
Hi, thank you very much. It's well known in research that women lack equal participation in the global labor market. Women have come to the forefront in all areas, must come to the forefront in all areas of human concerns. Many women have left intellectual skills, including research and innovation, to men. Instead, they focused on building family and social relationships. Women's inherent relational qualities are necessities for avoiding the numerous threats related to the rapid and some out-of-control developments in AI and other technologies. If technological developments create further divides in financial, racial, political, and other forms of ongoing inequality, the world will not become a healthier and more sustainable environment. Because I'm living in Mexico, I would like to mention a couple of women from this area that are emphasizing sustainable efforts. Marisa Cuevas Flores created Microterra, emphasizing a plant-based solution for recycling water and creating agricultural fertilizer. Victoria de Leon, also from Mexico, studied robotics and digital systems in her engineering degree, and she's creating sustainable solutions for space exploration by using materials that can be produced or adapted in extraterrestrial environments, combining advanced engineering with environmental awareness. She believes this must be empowered by humanistic values, and that's very important. Gabriela Salas Cabrera is both a data scientist and an indigenous activist. She has been integrating the Nahuatl language into Google Translate. Her ability to blend her social and cultural commitment with scientific rigor represents a movement of both inclusion and linguistic justice. Women are especially important for the AI age that is looming before us because of their inherent relational gifts. They represent a big solution. They are the mothers of humanity. Their nurturing qualities are relevant components to assure we do not lose what makes us human, our feelings and a felt connection with others. Consideration of AI's impact on the natural environment is crucial. Imbalances in technological development will deplete the Earth itself as AI eats up our natural resources. Therefore, it is our human feelings that connect us with life and our environment and all of creation that is needed. If AI does not include this focus, we are doomed to become little more than machines. And I end with this question. As women, what do we wish to support and create for a healthier humanity? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon, for your insights. I think that is a phenomenal question. I think each of the previous solution set also is trying to address this. So hopefully we can get back and get into a deeper conversation. While we are, so I wanted to see if I can bring back Jane Smith. Jane? Okay. If not, then let's move on first to Christian Nunes. Christian is a mental health and gender equity expert and trailblazer who made history as the second African-American president for the National Organization for Women from 2020 to 2025. She is the founder, CEO of Equity Bound Solutions, LLC, where she delivers transformative strategies at the intersection of equity, mental health, and social justice. She has launched transformative initiatives, including Unlock the Future, the Feminist State of the Union, and Healing is Resistance. She is an internationally recognized thought leader and speaker featured in Forbes, CNN, and Washington Post, New York Times, and others. She is going to discuss decolonizing AI innovation by creating roadmaps for co-creation. Christian, please.
Thank you so much, Tashine. And thank you everyone for having me here. I'm honored to be a part of this summit. Once again, my name is Christian F. Nunes, and I am honored to speak today about the importance of decolonizing AI innovation. As I start this conversation, I want us to think about the importance of when we think about solutions. It's really important that our conversation always starts with the importance of thinking about most rather than the few. And that's really important in the space of AI innovation. Systematic solutions can begin when we talk about decolonizing AI innovation because we want to talk about the importance of how historical patterns often have happened in AI innovation, and we're seeing those come up with harm to marginalized communities, economic exploitation, and those when we also see wealth, those holding wealth are also holding power. And one of the solutions we need to happen is the decolonization of AI so that we can move from more of a human-centric and empathetic place of AI innovation. How we do this is really important by first, one, reimagining who holds the power in the whole entire life cycle of AI innovation and the design process. Two, we must also rethink about who we value as experts in the design process and AI innovation. And we also must reinvest in who we look at in benefit sharing in the communities in the process of designing AI and innovation as well. We must move away from just coming to communities and marginalized communities for data extraction to get the information we need to design AI, but actually look at them to being very important in building AI and the need to actually build it so that it's important, it's empathetic, and it doesn't do any harm. There are so many ways that we could do this. Simply, I'll give you an example. Many times we go to communities and we'll go to them to build medical AI devices and we'll data extract and we'll pull data from those communities. And then we leave and we don't think about that we just really came and exploited these communities for this data. We simply could have stayed in those communities, worked with them, did a shared co-creation and exchange information, and then provided them with some economic advantage and benefit for sharing and extracting that data. So then that community also then could have turned around and benefited economically, where they could have then gained economic empowerment from that tech company coming and extracting their data for the medical device. So I think we have to start looking at it as how we change and shift how we're looking at AI. A lot of times these models innovation has been built on decolonizing ways and patterns. And we have to shift this. We have to change it and move to a decolonization approach to AI innovation. So we move more into a more benefit sharing and a redistribution and reciprocity approach than just always going into data extraction and exploitation approach to how we're going to move our innovation. We want to be human-centric. We want to be empathetic in our approach. And I'll move it there.
Thank you, Christian. I would agree with you, right? Exploitation of going into communities and then leaving without providing them back that benefit is something that has to stop in order for everyone to be raised up through this AI and grow together, right? And create more equity and resilience across the world.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Vidya, next, I would like to introduce Vidya Dwarkina, sorry. She has been working over a decade building pathways to economic mobility for youth, system-impacted communities, and emerging leaders across New York City. She has developed and managed advanced programs and policies to promote social justice, equity, and criminal justice reform. She currently is building partnerships to advance workforce strategies with Brownsville Heritage House out of New York City and the Human Project out of Baltimore, organizations that have deep grassroots ties. Vidya, take it away.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. So I think what I want to talk about today is our living commitment to restorative practice, right? Like Christian shared, right? Justice is not just a theory. It is not just something that we talk about. It's about how we show up in the world and who we make space for. We are currently living in global and individual systems that were not built for our wholeness. We were built through systems that silence people that are the most impacted by harm. And the way that we push that forward is we say, in this space, in the spaces that we're in what we co-create, that will not happen here. Here we say we will center your humanity. We will reclaim joy. We will reclaim conversation and care as collective power. And we do this with love. We do this in community, because whoever you are, whatever you carry, how much ever power you feel like you have or you don't, your presence is enough. And I think that that is really the cornerstone of what we're talking about, right? What does healing look like as infrastructure? The world is not safe by default. The rooms that we enter are not safe by default, but we can make it one. Whoever we are in this space, I just urge us all to really understand what it means to co-create with other people and take ourselves, our power, and our ego out of the space, right? Because if we're really working towards a better world, a world that's inclusive, we have to remember that justice is not an outcome. It is a lived experience. True justice means every day you are living and you are working restoratively with the people around you, and you can move forward in a way that holds yourself up to dignity and love and care. So I'll leave you with that. And I know we're going to talk more about all of this, so I'll leave it there and then we'll continue.
Vidya, I love your passion. It comes through, and I would agree with you. You know, it's important to bring your whole self and understand without ego that you can help co-create something that is bigger and better than it was before. So thank you. I'm going to try to bring back Jane Smith. Hopefully your technology is working. Oh no, we still can't hear you. Let's give her just 30 seconds to see if we can get that going. I know we have limited time, so maybe I can put forth this question first before we bring back Jane. And the question is really, all of your solutions are, I think, wonderful. And to be deployed around the world, what do we think needs to happen from a regulatory, political, and just community perspective to make those solutions work?
I'd like to go in this. This is something that I've thought about so much. But one thing I think is we have to change how we define universal. Universal right now is really based off like a Western idea of universal, and it's not universal. So why don't we have to change how we define universal and make it more inclusive, and take in more different perspectives of different languages, different cultures, different religions, and also include ASL, and disabled communities in their languages as well. I think we have to really be really truly inclusive when we use the word universal. That's the first thing I think we have to do.
I would agree. I think the universal word needs to have a better definition across the world. I think we've taken it for granted, and now we have to make sure we are putting it out there and living it the way it should be lived.
Absolutely.
Sharon?
Yes, I'd like to say something, because we have all of our technologies that are connecting us in ways that we can communicate around the world quite rapidly. But there are also a lot of marginalized people that have been left out of this paradigm. And we have to find ways to go out into the community, as Christian was talking about, and really communicate in ways that we bring others into. And as always, education is so important in whatever ways it's being presented.
I would agree. Vidya?
Yeah, I think we want to build sustainable workforce systems, specifically giving people the dignity and the right to work, we have to stop building around outcomes and start building around people. I spent years working inside Rikers Island, which is the only jail that holds people charged with crimes across New York City's 5 boroughs. And it was formerly known as Torture Island. In that space, I met young men whose first moments of criminalization came simply from choosing joy, from laughing too loud, hanging out with their friends, and walking to school. It was very common for me to hear. I was 5 years old when a man I looked up to slipped drugs in my backpack on my way to school. That's not a policy issue, that's a design issue. There are over 12.2 million people incarcerated around the world and countless families shaped by their absence. When harm like this happens, we can't just ask people to enroll in a program. We have to ask them, what would repair look like? How do we help you build something that gives you what you need from the world? Because when there's no systems, community, us, we become the infrastructure. And for those of us who live and work in the communities that we serve, we're also a part of that too. So I think the question that I want to pose at this moment is, if you're sitting here and you're wondering how to build systems that last, I think don't just ask what to create. Ask what your people already know about survival and what might be possible if we actually trusted them to lead and we just backed them with the infrastructure that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so insightful, Vidya. You know, it is important to listen to the people, right? That when we talk about politics and policy, we always say we've listened to the people and come up with policy, but I don't think that's always the truth. And I think this to promote this is so very important. Let's see if we can
back off a video just 1 second, because what she just said was so right on. And I think many times we forget people need resources, not policy. And that's how we get justice sometimes, is what are the resources they're missing to empower themselves, you know, to make the difference. And so what Vidya said was so right on. I just wanted to add that. Just people know what they need in their lives. They know what they need to do. We got to give them the resources to get there. And so that's all I want to say.
No, I would agree. I definitely agree, right? Most people will do the right thing and do it and be very passionate about what they do to support their lives, their families, their friends. So I think it is very important to believe that people really do know what they need, and how do we give it to them to empower them to do what they need to do. I totally agree. Jane, are you back by chance?
Please, Jane.
Hello.
Yay.
You're now on mute though, so take yourself off mute. Perfect.
Good day. I'm honored to be here to discuss an employment inclusion and right work model, which I framed as a vision for talent development and fulfilling work. As Tashing, our moderator, noted, I'm a global talent and leadership development specialist with over 25 years experience. My expertise includes providing workforce training and internship and job development for persons with visual disabilities. These services were provided within a successful model designed by state governments in the United States to address poverty eradication, full employment and decent work, and social integration. Based on August 2025 statistics from the United States Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, the labor force participation rate for people ages 16 to 64 was 42.2% for persons with disabilities versus 77.9% for persons without a disability. The employment rate for persons with disabilities was 8.8% versus 4.4% for persons without a disability. I'm going to discuss the talent model from a person-centered perspective and build up to the national level. One of my clients was a charismatic, confident, and established home chef who posted weekly online cooking videos. Other clients were retail workers, government employees, and executives who had vocations to do what they loved, beyond being engaged in employment that provided a wage, but did not incorporate the individual's dreams or maximize their talents due to societal barriers, employment discrimination, and other factors. In the model, a collaborative and interconnected partnership works together to increase employment for persons with disabilities. The individual's expressed vocation is a key determinant in the talent development plan. The partnership consists of a state rehabilitation agency, which is the hub of the partnership, a nonprofit service provider, and employment partners. Working with the nonprofit sector provider, I partnered with the chef to discuss the chef's career aspirations, assess and address skills gaps, provide customized training and coaching, and conduct direct employer outreach. The chef and I worked with the State Rehabilitation Agency to coordinate service provision and rehabilitation counseling. The chef received an employment offer for a cook position at an international food retailer. The retailer, chef, state agency, and I worked together to determine needed workplace accommodations. In sum, the chef attained his vocational dream, providing talent to the retailer, fulfilling the state's rehabilitation agency's increased employment mission, and contributing to overall economic engagement on the national level. Thank you.
I think that's awesome. I think it's to hear success stories like that is so important so that it can inspire other people to speak up to what they need and how they can get what they need and the help that they need. This goes back to what we were just talking about, which is empowerment, right? Everybody knows what they want to get to where they want to go. And if we can provide that for them and find the programs to do that, I think it shows how successful you can be when they've become successful in their dreams. So thank you guys all. This panel, you guys have been great, even with the technology difficulties, sorry. But really appreciate everybody's insights. I think we are all on the same boat and page about what we can do to help move this inclusive justice into the next phase of where we want to see the world go. So I appreciate that. But now I want to hand this over to Faye Steele for closing remarks, closing spotlight reflections. Thank you all. You guys were great.
I'm so sorry, but I had to quickly get on here because we were having a little bit of a technical difficulty, and we didn't have a spotlight speaker, Julie's segment.
Oh.
So we'll just bring Julie on directly after, and then Faye will then have a through line moment where she pulls together all the reflections. Is that okay? Perfect.
Right.
Okay. So thank you so much, panel 2 speakers. Technology can be very, very challenging, but at the end of the day, it is still that leveler that we can all harness to hopefully create solutions that empower our world and families. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharon Miharis, for all your contributions. We thank you so much. I want to thank you, Jane Smith. Despite the challenges with technology, you pull through. So thank you very, very much. I want to thank you, Christian Nunez. Amazing, amazing perspectives that you gave to us. Thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you, Vidya. Amazing. I like the way you brought it home to us in a very, very individual and personable way. So thank you so much for your contributions. And finally, I'm going to thank you, Tashing, for the amazing job you've done as a moderator. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you so very much for how you moderated and how you handled all the little tech issues and still were able to get into scenarios that a lot of us could connect with and know that these are the things that we need to talk about when we talk about poverty eradication, full employment, social integration, alongside cross-cutting issues to do with climate upheaval, artificial intelligence, displacement, and everything else. So thank you so much for your moderation. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead right now and send it over to Julie. Julie is going to come on and talk to us from her perspective. She's one of the spotlight speakers. Hello, Julie. And now I'm going to get out of your way so you take it over. I'm the founder. Julie, I think we have issues. Are you able to hear Julie? Can you hear me? Video, were you able to hear her?
Looks like I'm hearing myself in the back.
Okay. Just while we are getting Julie's audio issue still sorted out. Unfortunately, we are here in Doha for for the Second World Summit. A bunch of us are here, and the system is a little bit different here. So just give us a few minutes. I'm going to bring on Faye Steele, and she's just going to talk about a few things, but not give closing remarks. Faye, is that okay with you?
Yes, that is fine.
Okay, good. So Faye is going to give us some of her remarks, try to start pulling the the threads together, and then in a couple of minutes or as soon as Julie's headset is, then she'll come on and give her part. Okay, alrighty.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you all speakers that came previously. Really tough act to follow, but hi, my name is Faye Steele. I'm a Princeton and Asia Fellow based in Mongolia, which is a very unique context in terms of AI and social development. As a developing country, it has its own challenges, as many nations do, and it's working to kind of integrate AI into the technology space. So I work at Mobicom, which is one of the largest telecom producers, and there we're trying to marry together ESG and also AI in a way that works for a country that has a hugely nomadic culture and context and is also faced with a lot of its population transitioning out of that nomadic background and moving into the urban area or the capital city of Ulaanbaatar, where now majority of the Mongolian population lives. So with that, a big challenge has been creating access for vulnerable populations, which are a lot of the newer families and residents that came from a nomadic background, but now live in these informal residencies called gear districts. So gears are the traditional houses that nomads live in. In some countries, they are called yurts. But creating access for this population, I think previous speakers mentioned it, it does require having that local knowledge base and also understanding that these populations themselves, they understand better than anyone what they need and what a successful, workable solution looks like. So giving them the baton, giving them the microphone, giving them the resources is the word that's been used a lot, is really critical to ensuring that the solutions are future-proofed and are overall inclusive and can create the access that they need to be fully included in the economy and also be fully empowered. So I really appreciated the solutions today, starting with our His Excellency, Dr. Hanafi, who talked about how in the Union of Arab Chambers, they're working on empowering women and youth by providing kind of the resources to give them the agency to start solution building on their own. And that's just the thread we heard through today's dialogue, even moving into panel one led by Simone Castillo, where our speakers, Bridget, Watitu, Angela Weber, and Frauke really talked about how it is important to even reach to the rural, remote communities and doing that with a community-led, future-focused approach. And then we had our, Judy, you're back on. Hello.
Hello. All right. Thank you so very much. Julie is ready right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring her on and she'll take it on from there. Thank you so much, Faye. I know you'll be back with us to give your final reflections and everything. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. All right, Julie, technology, right? What can we say?
Yes, and that's the theme of tonight, is technology. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Julie Kabukanyi. So I'm the founder and CEO of Kawel in the United States and LAFCO in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm a registered nurse and a PhD in public policy student. My work centers on health equity and the resilience of displaced African women and girls. When we talk about resilient economies and inclusive justice, I think of the women I serve. Justice is not an abstract concept for them. It is a refugee woman fleeing the horrors of war in her native country, a woman who has survived violent sexual assaults and now faces new challenges in a new land, a different language, a foreign culture, and a healthcare system that does not understand her. Now we stand at the dawn of the AI revolution, and we face a defining question. Will this technology finally dismantle the barriers that exclude women like them, or will it build new digital walls, leaving them behind all over again? This is why our work is so critical. Our approach is not just about artificial intelligence. It is about gender-aligned collaborative AI. We are flipping the model. Instead of technology being built for marginalized communities, we ensure it is built with them. Our Pathway to Empowerment program brings this vision to life. We don't just hand women a piece of software. We integrate AI tools to our circle of empowerment that provide mental health and wellness support. This is how we blend high-tech innovation with high-touch community care and build true resilience. As a registered nurse and a health equity advocate, I see the power of this model. Imagine a collaborative AI tool co-designed with displaced women, helping them navigate complex healthcare systems in their own language. This is not a distant dream. This is the work we are already doing. My message to you today is simple. As we shape the future of global social development, we must commit to this collaborative approach. We must invest in and scale the systemic solution that place gender equity, mental wellness, and grassroots leadership in the very center of new technology. This is how we move from theory to action. That is how we build a future of resilient economies and inclusive justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Julie, thank you for your perspectives. We appreciate that. Very, very wonderful, long overdue and awaited spotlight speech. All right, and at this moment, I'm just going to bring in Faye Steele. She's going to give us her final thoughts and reflections on the entire program. Faye Steele, Fellow, Princeton in Asia. Hello, Faye.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you to all of our speakers, panelists, and keynote thought leaders. I just wanted to say, Julie, you did a great job, and honestly, I feel like you summarized a lot of the themes there. You know, we talked from the beginning to the end about the idea of empowerment, how that involves really listening to the local stakeholders, you know, grassroots community building, and the co-creation needed to ensure that AI and even the data driving AI is built in partnership and not with a sort of colonizer mindset, as has been done in the past and sometimes still today. So that has been a core solution stated stated throughout by so many of our speakers. And next we have the theme of just treating the populations that we, deem vulnerable as really the best experts in what they need and how the resources should be divvied out and utilized to achieve, goals we've been striving for decades at this point. So really giving them the voice and allowing them to really take the lead and leverage the resources that we do have available in a lot of these developed countries to empower them and take them to the next level where AI can really drive that sustainable and future-focused social development. So just thank you all for bringing those thoughts and ideas and actionable solutions to the surface. I appreciated hearing every one of those thoughts, and I will turn things back to Judy to end our session for the day. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Faye. That was really amazing. Thank you for the through line version that you've given, connecting everything and pulling together all the threads. We appreciate that. All right, we've come to the end of this segment or this entire solution session. But just before we leave, I wanted to just mention a few things. That the United Nations Social Summit, which is taking place right now in Doha between November 4th and November 5th, and this particular event is an opportunity for us to take a new look and a fresh look at the cross-cutting issues that we face in today's world and mirror them against what came through 30 years ago in Copenhagen when the first World Summit took place. At that point in time, the most important thing was making sure that poverty was eradicated, making sure that people had full and decent employment, that you worked and you felt it was productive. You felt dignity in your labor. And at that point in time, it was about social integration. Today, we have other challenges. We have the climate upheaval, as mentioned. We also have displacement due to wars and other forms of economic upheaval as well. We also have artificial intelligence, which is a great tool and could be a platform that could be harnessed to help us overcome a lot of challenges and offer solutions to overcome a lot of challenges and offer solutions to the problems that we have. However, a lot of people are concerned about what kind of guardrails are being made available or what kind of governance and regulation should be made around AI. So this social summit, I think it's really, really relevant, and I'm very, very excited that we had this opportunity. It has been my honor to lead today's solution session as the host. Resilient Economies and Inclusive Justice, Gender-Aligned Collaborative AI and Systemic Solutions, as part of the second World Summit for Social Development. At WOYA, we believe the future of justice, innovation, and prosperity must be built with people, not just for them. Our work spans New York, West Africa, and global platforms. Advancing financial justice, mental wellness, and AI-powered small business empowerment, we create spaces where women, youth, and allies co-shape the systems and technologies that define their lives. And so we approach development through the perspective of collaboration. We call it collaborative AI. The idea that technology should heal divides, not deepen them. From our initiatives like Pathways to Empowerment or Beautiful Wings Project or our Emergent Collaborative AI Group, every initiative centers inclusion, capacity building, and collective leadership. Today's dialogue has been really, really moving beyond conversation. It has pointed out different issues and different aspects of things that we need to take forward. Issues that are rooted and could stem from collaboration, and also the fact that collaboration, when utilized strategically, could drive real measurable change. I'm proud that WOYA's voice is part of a growing global movement, proving that social innovation and AI belong in the same sentence, not as a risk, but as a bridge to resilience and human-centered progress. We are open to partnerships with governments, UN agencies, academic institutions, and private sector allies who share our vision and who are willing to reach out, connect with us as we try to advance challenges that impact our world. So for partnerships, inquiries, or collaboration opportunities with us and with our delegates and with our speakers, each and every one of whom you have listened to today, please reach out. Please let us know. Our website is woyacentral.com and woyacentral.org, or reach out to us at send us an email at hello@woyacentral.org. Thank you so much, everyone. It has been such a pleasure and my honor. And so we wish you a great rest of your day. Take care now. Goodbye.